All right, so today we're gonna dive into something that I think a lot of people have probably thought about, maybe even wished for at some point.
Uh-huh.
That's something that makes people not just hear you, but really listen
Yeah,
and then actually remember what you say later on.
right.
We're talking about charisma.
Charisma. And you know what's interesting right off the bat is all the stuff we've looked at really pushes back on this idea that it's like,
Yeah.
some magical thing you're born with.
Right. Some people just have it and some people don't.
Yeah, like it's a birthright or something.
Uh-huh.
But instead, everything points to it being, a set of skills,
Okay.
almost like a formula
Interesting.
that anyone can actually learn and use.
So a formula for basically being someone people are drawn to.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
That's the good stuff, right?
Yeah, that's the secret sauce we're after here.
And you're right. All the sources we've been looking at keep coming back to this three-step charisma formula.
Yeah,
So that's what we're going to break down for everyone today.
perfect.
Forget that whole thing about, you have to be the loudest laugh in the room or the center of attention.
Right, right.
It's not about that.
No, not at all.
We're going deeper
Much deeper.
into what really makes someone magnetic.
Yeah, the underlying psychology of it.
Exactly, the psychological triggers.
Yeah, and I think that's really the crucial distinction.
Okay.
It's not about just being a showman on the surface.
Right.
It's about how you actually create a real connection with people.
Uh-huh. A genuine
A
connection.
genuine connection, exactly.
Okay.
So let's unpack that first fundamental step, which all of our sources point to,
Okay.
the power of presence.
Presence. All right, let's dig into that.
Let's do it.
So our sources are all super clear about this.
Uh-huh.
Truly charismatic communication. It all starts with making the other person feel totally and completely heard.
Heard, yeah.
Like you're giving them all of your attention.
Yes.
Not just, biding your time,
Right,
waiting
right.
for your turn to talk,
You know,
which we've all done.
oh, absolutely. We've all been there.
I'm sure I've done it already today.
Like, one of the sources actually calls this fake listening.
Fake lists.
Fake listening, which is presented as like a total roadblock.
Really?
Yeah, to building any kind of charismatic connection.
Wow, okay, so that's like the opposite of
True presence.
true presence.
It's the direct opposite.
Okay, so let's talk about true presence.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like when you're, face to face with someone?
Right.
The stuff we've been going through really highlights this idea of active listening
Active listening, yeah.
as a core skill.
It's not passive.
It's not just, passively hearing the words.
You're not just letting the sounds wash over you.
Right.
It's about engaging with what's being said.
Uh-huh. So what does that involve?
Well, it goes beyond just, nodding your head or saying, uh-huh,
Okay.
or talking about making eye contact.
Eye contact.
And there's actually some interesting research in social psychology showing that, sustained eye contact, but not like, staring aggressively,
Right.
can actually release oxytocin in both people,
Wow.
which is often called the bonding hormone.
Interesting. So it's not just about appearing to pay attention.
Right.
There's like a biological...
Yeah, it's like a biological trigger
Oh.
for connection.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so active listening also involves things like,
Oh.
asking clarifying questions
Right.
or summarizing what you've heard
Yeah.
to make sure you're really on the same page.
Right. You're really getting it.
Exactly. And that just makes the speaker feel like
Like you care.
you care, like they're valued,
Yeah.
like what they're saying actually matters.
Okay, so that's active listening. What else?
So then there's this other fascinating technique that came up a bunch
Uh-huh.
called micro-mirroring.
Micro-mirroring. Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, so this is basically about subtly mirroring the other person's body language.
Oh, so like if they...
Not in a way that's like,
Yeah.
really obvious.
Right, you're not mocking them.
No, not at all. Just small, often unconscious cues that
Mhm.
kind of signal, hey, we're on the same wavelength.
We're connected.
Yeah, we're connected.
Interesting.
And what's really wild is how deep-rooted this is. Like, our brains
Mhm.
are actually wired to recognize and respond well
Wow.
to similar body language.
Hmm.
Like, think about it from an evolutionary perspective.
Okay.
Way back when, mirroring could have signaled,
Like you're part of the group?
yeah, group affiliation, safety, all that.
Interesting.
So even today,
Yeah.
these subtle little physical echoes,
Uh-huh.
they create a sense of rapport. Even if people don't know exactly why,
They just feel it.
they just feel more comfortable, more connected to you.
That's so cool. Okay, so then...
Yeah, and, our sources even give a perfect example.
Okay.
Barack Obama
Oh, yeah.
and his famous I hear you nod.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
And he often does this slight lean in.
He does, yeah.
And these are just tiny things, but they communicate, I am with you. I am engaged.
You have my full attention.
Exactly.
It's not about copying every move.
No.
Right.
No, it's about genuine attentiveness
Right.
through body language.
Showing it physically.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so what stands out to you the most about this whole presence thing?
You know, for me, it's the intentionality of it all.
The intentionality.
Yeah, like you're making a conscious effort
Okay.
to really focus on the other person.
Uh-huh.
And it sounds like that shift in focus can have a huge impact on how people see you.
How they connect with you.
Exactly.
So we've talked about presence.
Presence.
What is next?
What's the next ingredient in our charisma cocktail?
All right, let's hear it.
So step 2 brings us to vocal magnetism.
Vocal magnetism. Oh, I like that.
And the stuff we've been digging into really emphasizes how important your voice is
Oh, yeah.
for keeping people's attention.
Makes sense.
Like, seriously, think about it. Have you ever tried to listen to someone who speaks in a totally flat, monotone voice? Oh my God, it's so painful.
It is.
I mean, they could be saying the most fascinating things in the world.
Yeah.
But if there's no life in their voice,
Right.
it's almost impossible.
Yeah, you just zone out.
Completely.
And our sources contrast that with having a dynamic and engaging tone,
Okay.
which makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's the difference between a lecture you can't wait to escape
Uh-huh.
and a storyteller who keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Oh, totally.
So varying your pitch, your pace, your volume,
Yeah.
that can really inject energy
Uh-huh.
and make your message come alive.
Yeah. And keep people listening.
Exactly. It keeps people engaged and helps to really emphasize,
The important stuff.
yeah, the key points.
Okay, but there's one technique that I found particularly interesting.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
One of the sources highlighted this thing called the 3-second pause.
The 3-second pause, interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, so I was kind of surprised by this at first because it seems counterintuitive.
How so?
Like, how can silence actually make you more magnetic?
You'd think you'd want to be talking all the time.
Yeah, you'd think so.
So what's the deal with this pause?
Well, the way this source explained it,
What?
it's like a pro tip
Uh-huh.
for building anticipation before you deliver some really crucial piece of information.
Oh, I see.
So that little bit of silence
Yeah.
gives your listener a moment
To process.
to process what you've just said.
Get ready for what's next.
Exactly.
Oh, that's really smart.
It makes the eventual reveal
Yeah.
much more impactful.
And memorable.
More memorable because they've had a second to think about it.
I see. So it's about creating a moment of
Heightened attention.
heightened attention. Okay. Yeah, that's clever.
And they actually use the example
Oh, who?
of Steve Jobs
Oh, yeah.
and his famous product announcements,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
especially like the unveiling of the iPhone.
Oh, yeah, I can picture it.
Right.
Like those pauses he would use.
Yeah, those deliberate pauses.
Yeah, right before the big reveal.
No, before.
So it wasn't just what he said. It was
It was the way he said it,
how he set it up.
how he set it up exactly.
Ah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't just about the groundbreaking technology.
Right.
It was also about his delivery.
Yeah.
Those pauses created a sense of drama
Yeah.
and made that moment so much more memorable.
So powerful.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder,
Yeah.
like, how often do you actually think about,
Hmm.
the nuances of your voice when you're communicating?
Honestly, probably not as much as I should.
Yeah.
I tend to focus more on,
And context.
the content. Yeah, what I'm actually saying.
Yeah.
But it makes total sense.
It does.
The like changing my tone, using those pauses,
Yeah.
could really change how my message comes across.
Yeah, it could make a huge difference.
And how people remember it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got presence.
Presence.
We've got vocal magnetism.
vocal magnetism check.
What's the final piece?
The final piece of the charisma puzzle.
Let's hear it.
Our sources call this the likability hack.
The likability hack.
Yeah, and this is all about making yourself relatable and
Right.
building trust.
Yeah, I like it.
And one of the most fascinating
Uh-huh.
and kind of counterintuitive ideas here is
Oh.
the pratfall effect.
The pratfall effect.
Pratfall effect.
What is that?
Okay, so it's this idea that people tend to like people who show a little bit of imperfection.
Mm.
Really, like admitting to a flaw
Mm.
can actually make you seem more human,
More human.
more approachable,
I see.
and ultimately more trustworthy.
Interesting.
Yeah, and one source even mentioned a study
Oh, wow.
where candidates who messed up a little bit
During a presentation.
Yeah, during an otherwise great presentation,
Yeah.
we're actually rated as more likable
More likable
and competent,
than the people who were perfect.
yeah, than the ones who are totally flawless.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's that human touch
Yeah.
that really resonates.
I guess it makes them seem more real.
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of goes against everything we're taught, right?
It does
Like, we always try to,
present this perfect image.
project perfection.
Yeah.
So what does this look like in practice?
Well, like,
Yeah.
admitting to a past struggle
Okay.
and explaining how you overcame it.
Give me an example.
Like, let's say you start by saying, I used to be terrified of public speaking,
Yeah.
but here's how I started to get more comfortable with it.
Oh, I see. So it's about showing.
That you're not some unattainable ideal.
Right.
You're someone who's faced challenges and learned from them,
Like a normal person.
like everyone else.
Yeah.
And that creates a bond with the listener.
Because we all have our
We all have our imperfections.
flaws.
Exactly. So if we connect this back to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
it really taps into our need to connect with authenticity.
To connect with what's real.
What's real, exactly.
So it's about being genuine.
Yes.
Showing your human side.
Exactly.
Instead of trying to be perfect.
Instead of hiding behind a mask.
Which is impossible anyway. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense when you're trying to build rapport with someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so just to recap for everyone.
Yeah, let's do a quick recap.
We've been exploring this 3-step charisma formula.
Yes.
First, we talked about presence, which is all about active listening.
Making people feel heard.
Right. And micro-mirroring.
Subtly mirroring their body language.
So they feel that connection.
Yeah.
Then we moved on to vocal magnetism,
Yes.
which involves using a dynamic tone,
Keeping your voice interesting.
varying it up,
Yes.
and those strategic pauses.
Yeah. The power of silence.
Right, to keep people engaged.
Exactly.
And finally, we talked about the likability hack,
The likability hack.
which is all about
Being relatable.
being relatable
Building trust.
and even embracing your imperfections.
Showing a little vulnerability.
Exactly.
So the main takeaway from all the stuff we've been looking at
Yeah, the big takeaway.
is that charisma,
It's not something you're just born with.
it's not a mystery.
It's not some magical gift.
Yeah. It's a set of skills
Right.
and techniques that you can learn.
Anyone can learn them.
Yeah. Anyone.
That's actually really empowering
It is.
to realize that.
You're not stuck.
Yeah.
You can actually develop these skills.
With practice.
With practice. Exactly.
Okay, so as you're thinking about everything we've talked about today,
Yeah.
here's a final thought for you.
It's not something to chew on.
Yeah.
Hit me.
Charisma. It's not about being the loudest person in the room.
No.
It's not about dominating the conversation.
It's not about taking up all the space.
It's often about making everyone else in the room
Yeah.
feel like they're the most important person.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
And it makes me think,
Yeah.
which of these 3 steps,
Yeah. Which of the 3?
presence, vocal magnetism, or likability,
Yeah.
do you think you could focus on
Uh-huh.
to, improve your own interactions?
Yeah, that's a great question for everyone to ask themselves.
Absolutely, because understanding these things
Yeah.
can really transform how you communicate
It can.
and how you build relationships.
Yeah, in every area of your life.
Yeah, at work and your personal life.
Yeah, it can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So thanks for joining us for this deep dive today.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.